All right, and we are live.
What? Live?
How's it going there, Peter?
Oh, pretty good. It's Friday. It's been a
Nice.
fast week in June. Lots happening. Some birthdays
Yeah.
with friends.
Nice.
Some
How was the golfing the other night?
yeah. Went to Topgolf for a friend's birthday.
The rebels are preparing an
I
assault.
won the main game.
Our orders are to
What?
take and
Nice,
hold
yeah, I
at
did.
all costs.
All about having a consistent stroke when you're amongst a bunch of other people that suck. You don't have to be that good.
You just have to get there most of the time.
Yeah, you just have to
Champion
be
of
putting
Mars, they'll be
points
able to
on the
continue
board.
the advance.
And then,
Nice.
yeah,
Don't give in.
the game, I got a couple shots over.
Are you shooting towards a target or towards actual like the hole, like the classic hole with the flag?
So there's like, there's like, yeah, targets out along the field in front of you. So it's like going to a driving range, but getting points for getting closer to objectives.
I see.
Yeah,
How are the points? How are the points scored? Is there a is it digital? Like, or you?
Digital, so they technology that watches the ball as it launches, gives you feedback on how far, how high, how fast, how much time it's in the air, and then also instant replay simulation of where the ball landed and where it landed on the target for the points there.
Nice. And if you were to get a high score on these targets and such, would that translate to a better score in real golf?
Probably, yeah.
Nice.
So you can be more accurate and land points each time.
The
Well, land
rebels
on a
believe
target
they have the
each
upper
time.
hand, but we shall prove
That's
them
cool.
wrong.
Possible to like
Get ready.
land between targets.
I don't know. He seemed to take his time.
I'm altering
He's got like one fraction of health
rally
left.
around these command posts.
One fraction of 1 point of health. Well, that sounds like fun. The I guess in golf, it's just number of strokes towards that one place. And this, and that has the potential to have so many more dimensions to golf. Like you could score so many other kinds of
Yeah,
things.
no, they literally had like an Angry Birds game mode where they put a
What?
virtual Angry Birds tower on the course between,
No
certain
way,
targets.
like augmented reality?
Yeah, and then, but you could only see it on your screen, on the screens, but then
Yeah.
every time you took a hit, it would show you what, yeah, it was Angry Birds. It simmed your hit like it was launching an Angry Bird from a
Wow.
slingshot.
That's crazy. That's fun. That's super fun.
That's fun.
I found it better. I learned something about this map. Oh, I just got Reach. I just shot blindly into that room, and Reach was the first one to go down. I guess they're coming in from the other side, and I'm coming in from another side, which is really making their lives hard. Except they just got me from behind. All good. Alright. I'm going to join this guy who's trying to clean him off B here. Sounds like you're underway too. That's fun. That's super fun. The augmented reality part's super fun. Did you see the anything about the Apple VR headset launch at their Apple event?
I didn't watch the keynote or anything
Yeah.
like that. I have seen some people talk about it. I've heard very mixed opinion.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
everybody's opinion. So some guys like, my brother's like, oh, this is so cool. I'm like, you don't have that much money.
Oh God, no kidding. Well, and it's just
And,
it's really just a developer unit. It's not their commercial unit. They're making this so that they can essentially entice developers to make new cool stuff, like and to make the apps that'll go on it. I wonder how long it takes, because the thing about an Apple VR headset launch is that the Apple ecosystem, there's never people who are just Apple centric, like Mac centric people. They haven't been really rocking VR because VR has been exclusive on Lithium 3,
Right.
exclusive to the PC, because you needed like a crazy GPU to run, two screens essentially right next to your eyeballs at like 120 frames a second. I remember watching it. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think that Apple's user base and love
Well,
is largely from a community that probably won't help it build.
Oh no, I don't know.
Now.
No, what I was thinking is, you know, with this being such a fundamental change to the Apple ecosystem in terms of devices. I mean, I know Apple users love to buy them some new devices, so that's rock solid in the Lord. But like, you know, what is that like how what's the appetite of those users to learn something new, and how long does it take them to? Because you know, I don't know how quick that adoption rate is. Maybe it's immediate. Maybe they just get to sell it to like most of their audience or something. You know, when it comes out for like $1,500 next year, like less than the cost of a one of their MacBooks. You know.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. The complete opposite reaction was I heard someone
Yeah.
he's like a developer, business. He was in business development first, large software for a long time.
Yeah.
He just balked immediately that someone was interested in it. Then went on
What do
a
you
long
mean?
rant about Apple and how useless Google Glass was, and how this is just another version of that. And then I'd rather buy
I would rather buy drugs. That's insane. You mean for like the altered sense of reality or whatever? Go into another world with drugs and not VR. Well, okay, so yeah, I mean, okay, so there's so much stuff there, but like the Google glasses were fucking awesome. I mean, I don't know what particular angle that human's coming at it from. If they like, is it making money, or that Google abandoned it at some point, or because at some point the Google just abandoned it, and you couldn't get support for it anymore, and basically the next time it broke, you were on your own. And so I broke mine in like 2017, I think, ish. And when I did, it was so sad because I was using it all the time. Now I was a teacher, so I had this really amazing use case, and that was I could wear it and I could take quick videos of my students when they were doing projects, and I also went on a lot of field trips to the local science museum. When I would teach a science GED class, and I would also teach like an intro to computer science class that focused a lot on physics. And early on when I was teaching this stuff, I got annoyed because I'd ask my students, you know, hey, who knows how the internet works? And somebody would say, you know, it's like, oh, it's really easy. Or you're like, well, I say, how to use the internet? And they'd be like, oh, it's super easy to use the internet. You know, you just get out your phone and you just get on it. And I was like, okay, cool, but like, how does that work? Like, and they're like, how does the internet work? You're such a silly old man. Here's how it works. You open Facebook and you just search for what you want. It's all right there. And I'm like, okay, like beyond, you know, but it was like, you know, the next question is like, okay, but like beyond Facebook. And they were like barely aware that there was an internet beyond Facebook. Like, you know, and so I'm like, you guys, you know, the internet is a whole bunch of protocols and it's a whole bunch of hardware that's all like tied together. And I know a lot of people use the internet and they don't really think about that kind of stuff. It's just like, yeah, it just works or whatever. But in terms of like understanding how a computer works, that's important. It's important to have that those data points and to know how it works. So anyway, we would get into some basic physics so that you know, after a couple questions, usually my students, someone would be like, you know, hey, it's just magic, you know, it's just like, and hey, I just got annoyed that people are like, it's just magic. It's not magic. There's actually, you know, there's a lot of physics from the ground up, and there's this completely hidden history of computer science, especially the personal computer, especially Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs credits LSD with the invention of the iPad, the iPhone, and the personal computer itself. Like it was taking acid in the 60s that showed Steve Jobs how to create the personal computer in a certain way. And he credits LSD with it. But it wasn't just him. He was part of a very He was a subset of a large number of people who were taking acid and solving their technical problems around computer science in the 60s. And that led to the directly to the invention of the personal computer. So, anyway, to combat the magic thing, I would take him to the science museum, and we would basically get into basic physics. And while we were going on field trips, long story short, I'd have that Google Glass with me, and it was nice. It was like it was super easy to like document everything and just take care of the whole recording function without even using my hands. You can use your voice to do it, but. I get, but it never. People had all kinds of reactions to it. Like, they were like, they thought the social components of it, like the social components of having a camera on your face and recording stuff, was verboten at the time. And there was like minor events where people were getting beaten up in San Francisco at the time because they were wearing their glass to bars. And people were like, "Get the camera off me" or whatever. Meanwhile, everybody's got a phone, so there's a huge difference there.
Right, that's been more socialized.
Yeah. There's cameras in cities, yeah, and people also just, they distrust the big tech with it too. The Google engineering back then was more trustworthy, but now it's pretty sus. But I've been playing around with this thing called Ray-Ban Stories. Once my Google Glass broke, I was like, oh, and when I got my glass prescription, I was looking on Ray-Ban's site, like I was trying to figure out like a good driving pair of glasses that were also like sunglasses, and I was like, Ray-Ban Stories, what's this? It's like, it ties into Facebook, and it's a pair of glasses you wear, and when you press the little button, it takes either a 30-second or a 1-minute video of whatever you're looking at, or it can take a picture of what you're doing too. Like it can do both, and it syncs with your Facebook, but you don't have to necessarily sync it up there. Last weekend I was installing I was doing an electrical project where I was installing a camera on the side of my house, and I had to run the power along the side of the house for it. And while I was installing the whole thing, I like recorded different aspects of it, and I was thinking about trying to put it into a narrative of some kind. Like tell the tell a larger story with this wiring installed. And the reason, actually, I'm just blabbering on. The reason I was thinking that is because I've been watching all this Van Neistat. You ever heard of Van Neistat?
Yeah, dude.
We must defend this last
so
position with
You've
all
gotten
our
into him
might.
recently. I've been
Nice.
watching, I've watched Casey.
Yeah.
His brother went through, probably halfway through his vlog when he was doing that. And then,
Nice.
yeah, when Van launched his YouTube channel, and I haven't gotten hardcore and watched all of them.
Yeah,
I have
totally.
watched a lot of them, and I have been watching more of them. He is good. His content. He's an interesting guy.
Van?
Move on the target area.
Totally. He's solving a problem that most YouTubers aren't solving. Like he's trying to make a little piece of art, And he hates computers. He has someone else post the videos and run his Patreon and all this stuff. And so all of his stuff is informed by a whole bunch of art that he did, not necessarily by a whole bunch of computer stuff that he did, It's just different.
Right. He's a builder.
He's built, and he loves to build all that stuff physically and all that. Yes. So and also he tries to make most of his videos like the hero's journey. Like there's a calling, there's like a problem that's proposed at the beginning, then there's like a journey, and then there's like the resolution. Casey Neistat talks a lot about it, like the 3-act, the setup, the conflict, and the resolution. Right? Casey's trying to do this kind of stuff. Van does that, and then he makes it all about that. But then it's about him taking a trip to Home Depot. It's like at the end of the day, it's him being a handyman, but like on the hero's journey as a handyman.
Yeah.
He got us both at the same time. That was insane. Oh, we just had a full reboot here. Yeah. So Van Neistat. So he oh my God, dude, they cleaned us off. All right. So all of his videos, all of his handyman videos and all that kind of stuff, it's all hero's journey stuff. So it's like these epic adventures and these epic locations and all this amazing, all this amazing stuff happening. Dear God, they got heroes. And I had to go to Home Depot to go get some stuff the other day. And as I'm walking up to Home Depot, I'm realizing my heart was just filled with love for Home Depot. Like, I was really, truly excited that I was finally getting the chance to go to this Home Depot. And it was like I was entering a magical kingdom. And I was like, wait, why? How is my feeling about this changed so much? And so much of the resolution of Van Nystadt's videos about being a handyman and stuff resolves at a Home Depot, or with like a Home Depot involved. Right. So the Home Depot is like this mythical archetype of like the helper character. Holy smokes, we got rolled on that.
Yeah, rolled right at the heroes come out at once.
They came out and they were highly coordinated, and they were doing awesome stuff.
Amen, brother.
Man, okay, so anyway, going into the Home Depot, and there's this like grandiose feeling of like, oh my God, we're like coming home, or we're going to the place where the great helpers are. And it wasn't because I had watched some crazy commercials. It's because I'd been watching this like storytelling, and like Home Depot was like an actual
the storytelling of doing like everyday projects.
Yeah, it mythologicalizes them. It becomes the hero's journey, like right in front of you as he's like building little shelves and stuff like this. And it's insane. It's crazy.
It's like,
so anyway,
way more simple than you think it is.
Way more simple, and he plans it out. Like he writes his script, and he thinks about that arc, and he thinks about these dynamics, and then he has voiceover, and he like controls it, and it's very produced. Like he produces the whole thing, but he does it in such a low tech way, and he does it so quick that when he fucks up, he just like leaves a lot of the fuck ups in there. And he just like comments on them, as in his own videos and stuff. So you're like, you're not watching like a finished product. You're watching like 3/4 of the materials roughly nailed and braced together, and it kind of looks like the final project, but it's the craftsmanship at the edges that make it like amazing. But yeah, just marveling at his ability to transform simple craft handyman stuff into this like theater content of the imagination. It's insane. It's just, I was just like, oh my God, like I have been sleeping on storytelling and on integrating the hero's journey into stuff. I was reading some people about I was doing some studying and some deep diving into this, into storytelling and storytelling processes and arcs and stuff like this. And I found this guy who basically has a system where you turn your meetings at work into storytelling. So instead of just having like a PowerPoint presentation up somewhere, you actually tell a story, and you can use visuals to support your story. But because you're telling the story sticks long after the data. Like the data happens. Kind of makes it means you put more into planning a meeting than just like, hey guys, let's just get together and show you all this stuff. But like
just like throwing everyone in a circle and letting it shake out.
Totally.
You've been doing. You were talking about doing that at work a little bit, right?
Absolutely. I was. It was a sub theme from a while ago, and the last 6 IT transitions that we've had to make, I've gamified them. Like for example, I needed people to change their names in a software app that we use. Because the software app is so secure, it doesn't let me as the administrator just change their name. So I had to have them like sign up for the accounts, like all my people, about 160 people. Most people just, they just use their legal name, and it's, first, last, and it's no big deal. But about 50 people, so about a third of them, decided to get creative, and be just like, first name Get, last name Bent, just like dropping memes in their username fields, and I'm like, it's hilarious, then they're using like their nicknames, and so what ends up happening is when someone wants to share with them in this service, the service is all about sharing, they have to know the nickname. Or they have to know that Get Bent is Paul over there or whatever. It was like so confusing, and like no one thought it through when they were doing it. They just thought, it's just me in here, and it's like, no, everybody needs this to understand.
You're signing up for another fucking Web 2 username and password.
Right. So So anyway, so the standard way of going about something like this is to just like send an email like, hey, everybody do this or whatever. But it's so boring and soulless. And they get so many of those, you know, just rando requests.
Likely to take 3 weeks.
Yeah. I call my department at work the Department of Awesomeness, and we try to like with everything we're doing, we try to up the awesomeness in it, just make it just like what would be the more awesome version of this, and so in this case we decided on a story, and this one happened through email, although I just saw a lot of these through Slack. Space pirates. So we're on a ship and we're on the water, and we're on a routine situation, and then all of a sudden the radar we fight, there's space pirates coming in, and so I used Midjourney and I generated a picture of a spaceship like off the port of a ship, you know, and so it's got the visuals, it's got the space pirate visuals, and have you ever seen the movie Serenity?
Yeah.
Okay, you know the Reavers in Serenity?
Yeah.
They're like the space boogeymen. These space pirates were based on that theme, like horrible, terrible pirates in space that just kill people in these dramatic, it's just terrifying and whatever. So okay, so I didn't say
massacre.
Right, like they do horrible, they're just very, it's pirates but like taken to like some crazy level. And you know, and in Serenity everybody's terrified of them. Like they don't actually in Serenity they don't actually tell you any of the stuff that the Reavers really do. They just are all afraid of it, right? You're seeing the reaction of people and to like all the stories they've heard, but they don't actually tell the stories, if that makes sense. So
that's an important thing to notice, that in visual formats you can just share feelings instead of expressing the why behind feelings, versus when you tell a story in a book format.
Yeah, exactly.
Feelings have to be more explicitly written out.
So it's a fun kind of storytelling to try to tell a story in an email, like a single email with just using visuals or whatever. So the captain of this ship is nervous that these space pirates have us on their radar, and according to intergalactic cosmic maritime law, if your paperwork isn't in order, you can be taken by the space pirates. So anyway, we have to get and then the captain goes through the logbooks and says, "Yep, we're in trouble." And like I give a couple of funny examples of what people left as their usernames, you know. So it's kind of hilarious. But in the end, what they do is they click on a link and they change their name. And we went from 50 people needing to do this down to 10 in 2 days without any prompting. And I didn't check the stats at the end of today, at the end of the week. But it looks like we'll probably get to 0 people with just one more round. So the 40 or so people who did what we asked them to, we're going to have one version of the story that goes to a positive ending, where the pirates are nice guys and gals, and they're just actually kind of misunderstood, and they get a bad rap or whatever, and they cut to them like partying on the deck. You know, we've got pictures like space pirates dancing on the deck or whatever. And then the other version of it is, but the people who didn't do that go to B, which is like a subplot, and that is there is more trouble with the pirates, and we haven't figured out what that's going to be, except maybe classic, walking the plank. You know, we were thinking about going walking the plank with it, like, and yes. So anyway, instead of just getting a boring email from the IT, you get like this. You get kind of drawn into this story. Story to participate in. Yes. So yeah, the bit
where the ad-libs are your action.
Totally.
You respond.
Well, yes, so that's been the most recent one. The one before that was a database transfer that happened to happen from one place to another, and the team that was doing that transfer, there was a lot of them, and they hadn't really done any coordination around who was in charge of which part of it or whatever. And so we came into the process really late and had to do it like really fast. So the theme was the Orient Express. So everybody's on a train, and there's a conductor that's trying to keep the time. And then the train leaves the station, and the problem is that there's the Biogen research facility, which is a genetic research facility has had escapees, and it's kind of like a Jurassic Park theme, like in Jurassic Park where dinosaurs get out. This is like monsters get out. And so anyway, there's all these monsters on the tracks, and the train's headed down the trail, and the train gets stopped a few times, and they have to do stuff to like get through. There was like a puzzle. The puzzle they had to solve was basically aligning everybody's names with which projects they were associated with, and like just trying to make it fun. And we did it all in Miro with like color-coded tiles and stuff, and it was cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. So anyway, we needed him to do like 4 things in a sequence, and so we had to tie it all together. So the train tracks worked nice because it was like one thing after another, you know, on the rails. And we had a really easy metaphor in that, you know, you just drop another monster on the tracks to stop the train, and then everybody has to do something at that point to resolve it, and then you can be back on the road afterwards. So it's like, you know, stress relief, kind of in the story arc. And it's a lot like planning a D&D campaign from when I was a 10-year-old. Like when you were playing Dungeons and Dragons, this is the kind of stuff you would think about as a dungeon master. Like who the characters were, what resources they had, like what kind of fun environment you wanted them to be in, who they were going to fight, how that was going to go. We got 22 seconds. We have not cleared this very quickly. I've been talking this entire time. Dude, I took all of my vitamin B and all my nootropics like late in the day, like 20 minutes before we met. I got up this morning and completely forgot. So this is my morning alpha brain. Brain surge hitting here. Woo! Woo! Here we go. OT. We're gonna need to really work our asses off to take this next one. Boy. Oh my goodness gracious. We gotta really hold this down. Alright. Oh no. Okay, Yonko. Here's A. Alright, back on A. We almost always just stay on A. We captured two points. Oh man, there's nothing behind us there. Yeah, that one ended with that was nice too with the train one because we could improvise. So we like at one point there was a delay for something outside of the story. There was something else going on at work that we had to kind of pause the project for a little bit. And goats stopped the train, so I had them all get outside, and we were generating images of all this in Midjourney, like of goats and trains, all this kind of stuff. What were some of the other things we did? There was another one that was just a straight D&D campaign. It was just like you were in an inn, and then dragons attacked the inn, and they started it on fire, and you had to get out. I forget why we were doing that one. See, I remember the story. I don't remember the fucking technical email part of it. Like,
yep, shit works.
It's like, yeah. Your brain sticks on stories like it does not stick on facts. Like facts have nothing on stories for retention. People remember facts incorrectly all the time, and people remember stories so well that we have stories that we don't even know where they came from. You know, they were just passed down generation to generation. People can't even remember why they were telling that story. Why was there a giant chipmunk? Why was there a giant chipmunk? And there was a good reason there was a giant chipmunk, and you know, the end of the world at some point. You know, but that time has passed. You know, myths. It's like using myth, like the myth, and our brains remember stories, like almost as if that was the only culture we had for a really long time, which is completely true, right? Just stories, like brain.
Stories.
Yeah. And before we had recorded media, like before we had recordings, all music that you heard came from musicians. So imagine how rich you were if you were a reasonable musician. People wanted music, so you're like, hey man, keep that guy in the court. He's playing the, you know, he can play the
I like how he strums.
Violin or whatever. I like how he strums. But now you can just have the best recording of the best strumming of the best person of all time, and that's like a quadrillion times better.
Hung up by goats all the time. Damn, I got 2 hits on him.
Saw you. Damn, he got me. Boy, that Yoda, he's got. There's a Yoda playing on the server that's really got what would you call it? An issue with us. Like, we messed with him somehow. He's like, this is not a normal amount of animosity. He just reincarnated on B. That's perfect. B. Okay, so I've got this tool called the Storyteller Deck and Storyteller Tactics. That's the thing I'm referencing here. And what you do is so you can tell a story to motivate somebody or a group. You can tell a story to inform. You can tell a story to persuade. So you start off with a purpose for it, and then you have this, and basically it's like a little card game you can play where you lay that out, and then you have different approach, like different classic story arcs. You know, like the hero's journey is like one of those, and you can use different formats for different purposes. And so anyway, it's kind of like trying to get to like mastery level with selecting your storytelling tools and improving those, like making those awesome. Wait. Oh, defeat. Okay, so we get no OT. I thought we were on B.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Man. Man, oh man, oh man.
So USA, dude, what?
Woo! I've got like 100 new situations in here.
He could fix the bong hit station. He could fix everything.
He could fix everything. That's Van Nice that. Let's go. Okay, quick break and we'll be back. Here we go. Shit, Handbrake of the Gods. Here we go. Dude, Garrett and I met this last week, and we've been pushing. Over Zoom. But it was like we did a 2.5 hour hang where the goal was to get our music studios aligned so that we could jam together. So so about halfway through there, we got it kind of worked out, and we were trying this piece of software that didn't work out called Jack Trips, but
it didn't work out.
Well, it didn't work out. Didn't interface well with my software, and didn't work well on Garrett's computer. And so we went to just straight musician mode in Zoom. Zoom has a mode where it will just play stereo with 0 latency and no noise cancellation. And it was actually perfect. Like it was so low latency that we had no problem collaborating with that. And
Zoom probably would definitely just have better infrastructure.
Exactly. Yeah, better support. Exactly. Rather than just hitting some random server. And yeah, it can just what it does is in that musician's mode, it more tightly weights the sound channel than the video channel. That's just what it does. And then in any event, oh man, I'm in a perfect place. Prioritizes it. Like sends that first before it sends. It'll let the video go laggy, but it won't let the sound go laggy. If it can help it. So anyway, dude, Garrett's really good at guitar. Like Garrett, he was like playing some stuff and it was like wow, like it was like sounding good. I, on the other hand, am like nowhere near that. Like I don't know like standard music theory. I could, you know, every good boy deserves fudge. Sort of sticks in my head from when I was a child. Like, that's but dude, we made some stuff, and for lengths, I basically focused in on drums. Although we set up a whole bunch of new instruments and all this other kind of stuff. Oh man, it was so much fun. But this is all a long way of saying we're gonna try to have a house band for Dudecore on Wednesday. Like, Garrett's probably hearing about this for the first time. I'm gonna try to talk him into it between now and then. But I want to set it up so we basically can just have like Dudecore house band, like noodling in the background, hanging out. It's gonna be like a super crazy hang if this is how we do it.
Yeah, but that sounds cool.
Yeah.
Super cool. You can figure out how to easily. If it's smooth, it's cool. If it's not smooth, then
yeah.
Because then it ends up, instead of it being ambient, it's of course it has a cold spot in the dialogue, you know?
Yeah, totally. I hear you. No, yeah, that we were working out a lot of the bugs, and I think I hear you though. Yes. And actually, I think that gets us much closer to the true spirit of Dudecore, which is making cool shit.
Yeah.
If we are actually able to make some stuff like semi-live like that, I think that would be intéressant, très intéressant. So, new music, new musical generations and such. Did you be keeping up on the UFO stuff from this week?
No.
Oh my god. So they had a whistleblower come out, a guy who had worked in these like ATIP, like all this stuff that Jeremy Corbell's been talking about on weaponized, all these government offices and programs. There's this congressional effort right now. I think it's called Arrow, but what it's trying to do is wrestle aliens out of control of the CIA, the FBI, the deep state, the military-industrial complex, because apparently, according to this whistleblower, ever since the time of Roswell, we've had real alien stuff, and we've just been trying to figure out how to turn it into new weapons. So we just lied to everybody about Roswell on down, and we can shoot down these things, and they capture them, and they try to get the tech out of them, and they try to make weapons out of them. And they hide it from everybody. The government hides it from itself. Just a very small, compartmentalized, department has access to it.
For sure, it seems like they would hunt them.
Yeah. Like some teenager is out, goofing around for the weekend.
Why do we need?
Somebody's got a missile launcher, trying to bring him down, like an electromagnetic missile launcher.
Or they're probably spit a plane. They're using a plane that costs $1 billion or something like that,
This is from some other stuff I heard years ago, but I think they try to do it with energy, because there's like the ships like bend space-time, and it like falls into like a space-time indention, like a space-time bowl, and so there's like other methods.
Yeah, they're like making a gravity pool.
They're making a gravity pool and sliding it around.
Into it.
Yeah, totally, to accelerate. Exactly.
Mass to accelerate it.
Totally. And so anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. I feel like they can still shoot stuff like that. How do you mean they catch it with energy?
Well, they basically whack a giant amount of energy in its direction, and that destabilizes something in it. Yeah, they EMP it. They directionally EMP it. But anyway, this was a whistleblower that was saying that he had worked in those kinds of programs for years, and that he was in Arrow. That's the government office that was supposed to be receiving this equipment, or this intelligence. And they said it's completely legal. They gave whistleblower protections to all these government contractors who might be working on this stuff, knowing that it existed and they were going to bring it forward. Turns out they hid it all. The military-industrial complex, the military, whoever's doing it, they hid everything and they didn't share anything. Like, this was their chance to share it, and then they didn't. So this guy leaves the government and then uses this new law to blow the whistle and say, here's all of the documentation around the fact that this stuff exists, but none of the classified information that actually describes what it is. So you can't see the part where it does the material analysis for like, this is what alien steel is like, and this is how it works, and here's how the atoms work and everything else. Like, that's not real. Like, they won't give you that. But this was like a disclosure that these things exist. So now it gives Congress the teeth to go, demand that all this be done, and also raises the public's awareness that he said there's been more than 12 or more craft that have been captured by the government, and 4 different kinds of aliens, like 4 different, like totally different body types, like different species, basically.
That's
And
wild.
yeah, and he was really highly placed in it. Where they incredible and worked in all this stuff, and yeah, it was really, really wild. And so that's about as close to disclosure as we have ever been. Like, where the government's like, hey, aliens are actually real. And
By the way, that's not the government.
no, that's a
Someone
whistleblower who
protect
worked in the government who said the government has a law in the books that everybody who's in these programs can legally do this, and they're not doing this. So this is why I'm talking to you, because I want this should come out. He's like, it's
Tactical retreat will allow us to regroup and meet the rebels head on.
anyway, there's also a lot of false flag stuff with this stuff. Like, there were plans. There were like deep state plans, because let's say that someone's been doing this and they do have ships that they can use, right? Like gravity ships. Like some CIA branch has gravity ships they can use. Apparently there were plans, and I forget how I learned about this one. It wasn't like completely like just out of someone's imagination, but where they were going to take a spacecraft and fly it like over downtown like Las Vegas. And then like, and as a way of like fucking everybody up. Like, oh no, the aliens are here. Like, don't worry, everybody stay in your houses, lockdown. We're gonna go talk to the aliens or whatever. And then there's no real aliens. It's just like a bunch of dudes from, down the hall who know how to fly the ship. And so anyway, there's all kinds of false flaggy stuff like around it. Like we could absolutely be in for like 10 to 15 more years of crazy bullshit and psyops around this stuff. And there's no telling if this is one of them or whatever until you actually, get to the bottom of where the ships are, what they're doing, and like who's like what scientific discoveries were made based on this. That would be like smoking gun proof.
For AI to confuse us more and more.
They're just always holding out. That's the whole thing. Is just buy 5 more minutes, and in those 5 minutes you'll buy 5 more. It's like that's what they've been doing for forever, trying to keep the genie in the bottle. Yeah, but it was like pretty widely understood that like this is probably real. Like, I mean, I guess it's for every person to individually understand it, but for me, seeing that, it was like, whoa. Like, my whole life, I've been waiting since I was a teenager and aware that this stuff was happening. Like, that there might be UFOs or whatever. Like, I've been, like, keeping my eye on this stuff, and this is as close as we have ever got to it. To being like, hey, everybody, it's actually happening. And on top of all of that, there was a downed UFO sighting in Las Vegas, like, 3 days ago. It was, I'm getting all this from Breaking Point's Crystalline Saga.
I saw they had a segment on it.
Yeah. Okay, so here's how this goes. There's a panicked 911 call by a family who says there's 8, 9, 10-foot tall beings in the backyard with giant eyes. And ring cams in the area hear something crash into the ground and see light just everywhere. Cops show up, and on the cops' body cam footage, they see the thing run away. They see like a giant comet go across the sky that looks like the bottom of a spaceship. Although it's just a bunch of light. It's a bunch of blue light, but it's like, but they like see it leave. And when they see it leave, they were like, "What the fuck was that?" And then so when the cops go up to the family that saw it, they're like, "Did you guys see that?" It's like the cops saw it too. Like it was like crazy like that. Like it was a shared experience. There was an indentation in a circle in the back. They apparently one of the guys in the family had cell phone footage of it, but that hasn't been released yet. I mean, geez. I mean, I'm sure they're hopefully. And anyway, within about an hour, there were people driving around with government plates with black sunglasses on. like Men in Black kind of stuff, like the suppression crew or whatever. Like there's human
containment apparatus.
There's human collaborators who know about this stuff, and they've been tasked with keeping it quiet or something, or God knows. But this is why I love the movie Captive State. Captive State tells the story of what a real alien invasion would be like, and what it basically teaches you is the thing you have to keep your eye on isn't the aliens so much as the other humans. Like, because it's insanely common with a conquering army to find a few collaborators on the other and turn them traitor, and then they enslave their population for you, right? Like it's, you know, they sell you out. And they're like, and that's right. And they're trying to save their families by getting on the escape ship or whatever, and then they sell out humanity by, you know, collaborating with the alien race. That is what the movie Captive State's about, and that's you know, that stuff. That's the right psychological framework to look at. It's like, okay, so there's been this stuff around. You got to assume there's got to been some kind of contact or something. I mean, there's got to be something. If the government's been like chasing these things down for 50 plus years, are we saying that they learned nothing about them in that entire time? like what the heck? That's how you do it. That was awesome. I mean, there's got to be people in our government who have way knowledge, as much knowledge as we have as a country about this. They've got that knowledge.
Right.
You know, who they are, what they're doing, what you know, and you just gotta, you know, that is so important for everybody to know that and to share that and to have that understanding. It's like, what does this mean? It can't just be perfectly empty and random. They're probably paying off the humans. They're like, hey, take this pill and you'll live 100 years longer. That kind of stuff, you know?
Good drug.
Anything. Can you imagine what you could offer someone from Papua New Guinea if you just like rolled up there and they'd never seen any technology whatsoever? You know, be like, holy shit. Like, if you took 10 minutes to think about it, like shopped on Amazon and then like packed your suitcase correctly, you could be a god there. Like,
like 20 minutes left.
Well, and not only that, but you got, okay, so here's the hugest conspiracy of all: energy. More money every year trades hands over energy than anything else, right? It's energy. It's energy, it's energy, it's energy, it's energy. And so there have been, imagine if we have had alien tech since 1940. What that means is that someone somewhere has probably had the infinite energy machine, like the cue ball that just makes energy all day, and they've been keeping that shit on wraps, right? And like, you know, the teenagers in the ship that get shot down, they probably have one of those in their glove box too. How many of those do you need before you can run shit down here with the rest of us on fossil fuels? Like, not many. Like your tech advantage over the rest of us would be so immense, you'd be running stuff. And let's say you had some mind-reading technology or mind-wiping technology. You just walk into a bank and press a button. No one realizes you just took all the money. You know, it's like weird. Like, there's a million ways we could be confused by this. But anyway, what I'm saying is the chances that someone has made contact and has, you know, received some tech and has been, you know, and then those people, why do they want to suppress it? Because they want to be in charge. They want to run stuff. They'd rather be, you know, them in charge than the human race advance. And can you imagine how many problems we would not have had as a society if in the 1940s you had an infinite, like, free energy machine and you just had access to that? That's no Middle East wars, man. That's no wars over a lot of stuff. And no wars over energy and all the fear and the anxiety over climate change, just all of it. It's like, with an infinite, a little cue ball that just made energy, you just make it pull the carbon out of the air. You just leave it alone for a while, and it'll just do that. Like,
all sorts of things. All sorts. You can spend energy balancing all sorts of equations, essentially.
we needed a freaking win, and that was our level there. Woo! Okay, I gotta take this call. Here we go.
Right down there. See ya.
Be right back. All right, we gotta focus on this one because we're on a win now. Let's get on a freaking roll. Let's lock down and see here. Let's do this.
Hell,
USA, dude! What?
that's crazy. To think that there's actually like.
We have
Yeah.
to take one position to secure the area.
Well, not only that, but like our society's been in contact with it, and so many of the quote problems that we have, you know, there's people in our midst that might not have that same view because they're like, it's not a problem when they learn about X and Y and Z or whatever. I mean, any kind of technology would be amazing, and the way that works the best is science. We should share that with the whole world, you know, and all human scientists should benefit and advance this stuff. I mean, think about it. Is it going to be Americans in space or Venezuelans in space, or is it going to be humans in space? It's going to be humans in space, right?
Be humans in space. Is there not enough humans in space
Yeah.
to start differentiating?
Yeah, and like talk about mismanagement. Like if there are planets full of beings out there and they can get around and get to all those atoms, you can make as many houses as you want. You can make as many farms as you want. You can turn the
Right.
whole planet into a giant food factory and a baby factory. We should be making humans like next level. If there's a competition out there amongst planets, let's get some people, man.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Like, come on! Like, get out of here! Be a team human. Let's make some humans. Let's get up there. I mean, we've got humans, but like, let's make our goal like setting up our future generations with like awesome super wealth in like orbiting moons and like, you know, mining asteroids, and they're like everyone's a trillionaire. You know, let's go. Like why like with an infinite energy machine, that's the whole point. You can start doing that. And if you look out in the universe, just what we can see of it, we can't see alien life everywhere. It's not everywhere. Like if it's somewhere, it might be in another dimension or something. But we like this dimension, this entire physical dimension that we're in might just be us. Might just be this one type of life that our cells dialed in once upon a time. Yeah, like
And
that.
other forms of life can dial into more and more dimensions.
Yeah, like a silicon-based form of life, like a machine-based form of life or something, you know. And it's but at some point you learn how to jump universes or jump reality dimensions or whatever. And so the goal isn't to like get to the end of ours, which is infinite and might be just empty except for, you know, life that looks just like us. The goal might be to get to the next one over, where, you know, where there's all kinds of life that's just like very different
Find
than
the
us or
edge.
something.
Yeah.
Or like be able to just turn the dial, you know, just turn the dial like this and now you're in this other world. Turn the dial like this and now you're in this other world, you know, it's like... but anyway, if there's... Dude, we're aggressive social monkeys, man. This is just a new story for us to conquer, dude. This is a new, you know, come on! Come on with your filthy holding back of awesome alien tech.
Holding back. Yeah, the point... There seems to be a theme in life is that it's always better if you lean into whatever...
Hoarding?
Lean in. Well, no, that's grasping.
Grasping?
Hoarding would be grasping, like relaxing, lean in, like lean into the
Change?
relationship, the change, yeah. You're
The newness.
incredibly adaptable.
Well, this is where psychedelics are going to be amazing, because brain plasticity is a real thing. And the more, if you give people the right kind of psychedelics in the right environment and don't break them when you do it, you give them, they get plasticity. Which, what does that mean? That means they're able to learn new things. Sounds like we need to learn some new things if we've got fucking interdimensional aliens or just aliens in our own solar system or whatever they are, you know, floating around and landing in backyards in Las Vegas. Get out of here, nerds. What are we talking about? Like, at the very least, you should tell people so they can defend themselves. Like, I'm sure they're not all good. I mean, if you or you know, if you see one, don't go close to it. You know, it's got radiation on the bottom of it. You're gonna die. You know,
Everyone's worried about getting probed. Okay?
there's a reason why everyone wasn't. Dude, yeah, exactly. Maybe there's nasty ones that want to like human experiment or turn us into some kind of food stock. We should know this. Like,
Right.
maybe they make human burgers somewhere. We should find those people and get rid of them or change their mind about their practices.
Right?
Yeah.
maybe this is the real reason for the Second Amendment. I don't know. You know?
Aliens, 100%. Aliens in like Jeffersonian times. Like
Right,
Jefferson saw craft and was like, this shit, we need these guns.
We need them spread out more too. Like,
Yeah.
there's too much.
We're grouped up. No
centralization
bunching.
of
No
power
bunching.
here. You can't be bunched up.
Can't be bunched up.
They just take out where all the 100 yards where all the guns are. But if they're every 100 yards,
Well,
it's
dude,
hard to make advances.
Are you serious? We need space guns. Like, if there's spacecraft, we should have space guns. Like, why would you want to be? I mean, but here you go. Like, maybe this is all just human paranoia. I don't know. I'm thinking of it like a social monkey. You know, if we were living in some kind of society that had infinite energy since the 1940s and that was widely shared and spread around, maybe we'd all be a little more chilled out. You know? Like, maybe, like, that would be just everybody a trillionaire,
People are
because...
pretty chilled out right now.
Yeah.
If it's that... Yeah.
Describe how
Chilled
people
out.
are chilled out to me. Tell me how you mean, like,
man.
not at each other's throats? Or, like no war?
Yeah. I would say
Nice.
no war, then, you know, supposedly unemployment
All-time low. Yeah.
You know?
Inflation's high. Cost
There's a
of
lot of-
living is high.
Yeah.
People can't find housing. That's a bad problem.
But for the most part, people are...
I heard
surviving
somewhere-
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're buying 5 minutes all the time. You know?
Buying 5 minutes. Oh wow, yeah, getting by. Okay, so imagine if you had the infinite energy cue ball. I bet we'd be in a better place, you know? Like, just... Imagine if you had the infinite energy cue ball and you could heat your house, produce light so you could grow your own food.
Drive.
Yeah. And then, and purify water, purify your air. You know, it's like an energy source that you could use for like your house, like having like a little reactor. Like it would be a little non-nuclear energy source that would be like a nuclear energy source that just produce a lot of energy for cheap.
Nice little safe nuclear.
Dude, there's over 203 ways of taking atoms and breaking them down and turning them into heat. And the two that we chose in America that creates uranium-235 and plutonium-238, I think. Those two pathways, the reason we do that is because those are the fuel stocks or the feedstocks for nuclear weapons. The kind of nuclear weapons we make requires input of that. So we don't just necessarily run a neutral nuclear program with this stuff. Our nuclear program and our nuclear reactors in the United States produce the material for our nuclear bombs. So you could do that somewhere else. You don't have to necessarily make your energy from the exact process that also gives you nuclear bombs. For example, my favorite one is thorium. Thorium is what keeps the Earth warm. The Earth is nuclear powered and it produces heat, and all you have to do is dig into the Earth a little bit and you find it, but if you go far enough, it's melted down there. And a big part of that heat comes from thorium decay. And thorium is a nuclear, it's an element that's in everybody's backyard. Everybody's got thorium in there, it's everywhere. And you can dig up a parking lot and concentrate it and get thorium. Then what you do is you bond it with this stuff called a fluoride salt. And you create these reactors called lifters, or light thorium lifter, liquid fluoride reactor. Yeah, liquid fluoride reactor. LIFTR. And okay, so here, that liquid thorium, when it's bonded to that salt, is super safe. So it basically, at room temperature, it's a solid. So you start with a block of salt, and then you have to raise the temperature of the block of salt to get it working. But once you get it past a certain temperature, it starts decaying and producing more heat. So it just makes heat, and if there's ever a problem and you break this, what's the nice thing about these lifter designs is that they change that. They go, there's a little salt plug at the bottom of the reactor, and if you melt down, which means you have an uncontrolled heat release, if you do that, it just melts the salt plug at the bottom, and then it drains out onto the floor. And then someone can come and clean it up. It doesn't hurt anybody. They can reform it and put it back into the reactor. So you can basically just keep using it. It's like super safe. And
The salt melts out.
Yeah, a salt plug melts out, and then the liquid fluoride salt, which is a different kind of salt, drains out. And then, and that's the fluoride salt is the stuff that you're actually making heat out of. And we made these in the 50s, and then we got rid of them because they didn't make bombs. So they got rid of this tech, but that tech we had in the 50s. You can make a fluoride lifter reactor, and you can start it, and you can leave it alone for 20 years, and it'll just make your energy for you for 20 years. And then in 20 years, you come and give it a recharge. You just drain out the old stuff, and you give it some new stuff. And the old stuff, it's not that bad. It's not like super radioactive. It's not like a problem to handle. It's not gonna hurt anybody. Not the way plutonium or uranium does, because those are just so unstable. And you can't make bombs.
So how much power are we talking about?
20 megawatts every day for 20 of the year for 20 years for $20 million for a lifter is what the estimates I was reading
20
about.
megawatts?
20 megawatts.
That's like a lot, right?
Then you could run a pretty good sized town with 20 megawatts. Like
with one of these thorium reactors.
thorium lifter reactors. Yeah, totally. 100%. Yeah, and it's crazy because we had them in the 1950s. They got rid of them. But they would just run it on Monday through Friday, and it was so easy to turn off and on that they would just turn it off on Friday and then turn it back on Monday. It was no big deal. A nuclear reactor with the uranium plutonium feedstock, the ones we run everywhere in the world, those things, they take weeks to raise up and down. Like you can't, and it takes 450 people to run one. And if it fucks up, it's a problem. I mean, if you have the 450 people there, it's good. It's pretty good. But you've got to have those people there, or it's done. So if there's some kind of biological event and all the people die, your reactors are overheating. Not so with your lifters. Your lifters would just melt out. They'd probably just sit there and hum for 20 years. But if they did melt out, they would just melt out and they'd cool down, and they wouldn't hurt anything. So, and if you had like a bomb hit it, or somebody shot it with a kinetic weapon. Like right now, Russia and Ukraine are playing chicken with one of their nuclear reactors. Somebody blew up the dam that produces the water that cools the reactor. So like, as an act of terrorism, somebody, the Ukrainians or the Russians or somebody in between, blew up this giant dam, and the water's flowing out of it. And when that reactor doesn't have enough cooling, it'll overheat, and it'll be a big problem for like all of Europe. And so that's the problem with having wars when you have nuclear energy like that, because you can't interrupt those devices. They must continue to be maintained by friendly people, engineers who know how they work, or else. Yeah. Not so with lifters. Lifters, you could lose a lifter somewhere, and it just sit there for 20 years probably, not do much. Why aren't we in thorium?
Yeah. We need a thorium. We need a little symbol of thorium that goes on this.
It's Thor. It's named after Thor, the god of thunder. So that'll be a fun one. It's TH. We can have some thorium. If you want to be like a thorium sponsor, we could like just talk about thorium continuously until people pick up on it.
I'm radioactive, bitch.
The Earth makes its own nuclear energy. Go thorium.
Go thorium.
Natural nuclear.
Wow, I just stepped right in there and right in front of someone's gun and died.
Yeah. But yeah, so thorium is something humans know how to do, and we could definitely do that, and all it would take is us stop being so warlike and be like, we must have the uranium and plutonium. And like let's like get into some of this other science and get into some of this other stuff. The Chinese are doing it. They're going to commercialize lifters. We're going to be buying Chinese lifters, I'm sure. But for energy independence, we should have our own scientists and our own programs and our own stuff. Because that's how we do around here.
Save up for my first lifter.
Dude, can you imagine if you just ran a nuclear lift? Now, you could do that. Could you do that? You'd have to have the right scientists for initially.
Well,
Let's
get the crew. Gang, gang.
gang. Like, let's go. And dude, but the licensing, you'd probably have to go right over Tijuana. You could do it in Tijuana and just run the cables back over to America. Because they got no rules down there, and we got crazy rules about nuclear energy over here.
Yeah.
God, I'm dying too much to win this on our behalf. Oh man, we lost this one. Well, it's 30 seconds walk to work day. All good. We might be able to put up a. Here we go. Not giving up. We got 20 seconds walking to work. Let's do it. Got 100 meters. 100 meters out. 12 seconds. 17 seconds. All right. I'm just gonna get foot on. Foot on. I'm chalking. I'm jayhawking.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I got lightsabered immediately.
They were waiting for that. They were waiting for that. All right.
Your performance
Yeah,
was an
but
embarrassment.
totally.
Was it the
Quick break. Here we go.
cold of resolve that
Bouncing
caused
back.
this defeat? Lord,
Handbrake of the gods. I'm just straight like two fists in this bong in this water situation over here. Racing back into the jungles of Endor.
Obviously, this is does not.
This is fucked. We're fucked. All those years of work just to rot in this corporate fucking Death Star.
It does not seem, is that loud on your side? It does not seem loud on my side. It's quiet, right?
It's nice. I think it's, I mean, it's not the way it was. We turned it down a little bit beforehand.
Yeah.
But it
Seems too quiet. Well, maybe I'm just riding my headset a little bit super low.
Well, we were just double fisting the water in the pond. You know, the world is loud.
Everything's in
Louder
motion.
right now.
It's all in motion. Oh my gosh.
Pop out. Pop into your attention right there.
Dude,
You
we
need
gotta
that- you need Ari yelling louder.
yelling louder. We need more loudly yelling. Can you imagine if in our lifetimes it's fully understood that like there's these other cultures and here's how you get a ride on one of their ships and they like to eat people that look like this, but they like to worship people that look like this or whatever the hell, you know? They like to put redheads in zoos, you know? Can you imagine?
Some arbitrary like.
They just like the redheads, so they put them in zoos. They're like, God damn it! Like,
We need some distraction to get us off of focusing on whether
Killing
they're
each other?
boys or girls or not.
oh yeah, that's a psyop to break us down. There's somebody that's just our deep state running out of countries to crush. Like they're trying to crush us now. It's like somebody needs to stop these nerds. They're probably the ones with the energy cube all.
Name one, not
Totally.
Come on, man. We're just trying to
We're just trying to enslave
pan
the human
out
race.
here
We
in the sun.
We think it'd be kind of cool. They're not.
current.
The thing they always tell you is like they're doing it for, you know, it's like they're trying to help. You know, like they're suppressing all this stuff and staying in control because there's really something
Protecting you.
You're protecting you from what? From yeah, exactly.
Well, protect me from other people stepping.
Protect me from ignorance. Teach me about the universe. That's a good way to make new awesome stuff continuously.
I'm trying to grow here.
We're trying to understand the nature of reality so we can make 3D printers that can 3D print planets, man. Come on, get on board. We want to 3D print some planets out here in these solar systems. Can you imagine the size of the 3D printer you need to print a planet? You know what? You probably grow one. You probably print something the size of like a Q-tip, and you know you get it wet or whatever, and it expands into your planet. How would that work? Okay, you put
print
all the
size of a Q-tip. You'd have to print some really dense shit that could.
Yeah, you could go that route, like super dense, but you could also go. You ever heard of like the in Dungeons and Dragons? There's like they have these magical pouches where you can like put big things in a small place, you know, like in these magical pouches. And like so, what you do is you get one of these pouches rocking, and then once you get one of these pouches rocking, you can like carry around a bunch more stuff than you would normally be able to carry around in it, because it like goes into another dimension.
Oh, yeah. Is that a thing?
Well, here's the thing. Maybe those aliens know how it works. Because like if you could have like a star's worth of matter sitting right next door in an otherwise empty universe, just staged, and you had something the size of a quarter in this universe, and you press a button, and then that star's worth of energy comes into this dimension like immediately. You'd have a crazy matter bomb that you could just like, you know, it could like warp in matter. Like, yeah, just the Earth just is overtaken by a giant thing that just appears here, you know, like out of nowhere. Like, watch, the aliens are monitoring our, and they're like, they're not ready. No contact. No contact. We're gonna wait till they're like 1,000,000% smarter and what more loving.
You gotta earn it.
They're gonna turn our landing gear into crazy shish kebabs. You know, they're gonna come chase us down. No, they're probably not paranoid like we're paranoid like that.
I wonder what they're watching. Because they have to be monitoring, you know, what we're doing on the internet a little bit. So, like,
I say microscopic grains. They can make if they can manipulate a giant machine that carries them around, they can have a little panopticon. It's the size of a grain of sand, but it records in 16,000K super HD audio, you know, 3D time traveling footage, you know, just they got A. Okay, maybe we hold B here. You know what? I'm gonna go hold A. Anyway, yeah, dust motes. I think they got dust motes from other dimensions that can just warp into ours, and they can just record the light and sound directly, or you know, barring that, I'm sure they can. So a super tiny small computer, it's like call it like an AI 1,000 times more smart than the entire human race combined or something, and it's all molecular atomic computing, so it's doing its work and its total mass is like less than, you know, 1, 2, 3 grams of weight. So it's super small. So you could accelerate it in a giant energy thing and like send it back in time or forward in time. And you could, that same accelerator probably is the engine to like send it across the universe. Like, don't be here, be 6,000 light years away, you know, in Paul's house, listening to him talk about how he's gonna make weapons out of alien tech and shut him down. That kind of shit.
Kill that stream.
Kill that stream. Or just throttle it. Throttle that planet.
Switch all of the restreams.
You know, maybe it's like that. Maybe in that regard, we should all have an embassy. Like, we should consider ourselves ambassadors to the universe. That, like, you know, our thoughts are just like their TV, like psychic. You know,
Psychic.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. In other dimensions, you can just hear all our thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. It's
like
loud.
The trees.
Yeah.
The wind.
It's like lightning
or some shit.
Yeah. To the little grains, it's like lightning. So yeah, they have some kind of next level super AI that's like panopticon, surveys everything about us, knows our karma and our emotional makeup and our mental makeup just by like glancing at us. One can hope, because then you could theoretically befriend such a being. And if it was a teacher being, can you imagine how cool that would be? Just have like a little cue ball that floated around and taught you everything. That would be amazing. But now we're in the realm of sci-fi, which honestly is probably why so many people are invested in it. Like, if dreams are real, what that means is that, how am I saying that? If dreams reflect reality in any way, like if they are just pouring in over there. If dreams reflect reality, that means that you can gather information in dreams. Which means that if there's aliens bopping through Las Vegas and landing in people's backyards, etc., etc., they're going to show up in these dreams. They're going to show up in these dreams, and what if, like, sci-fi is like us coping with that? Like, we're showing ourselves pictures of aliens because they're everywhere and we just can't see them.
Yeah, huh. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I like the idea of, yeah, there being, like, like we could observe through dreams, like, we could
Remote viewing
watch
or something.
Well, remote viewing, but there'd be ways to, there could, ways could be developed to track or like coordinate
do it scientifically.
dream watching. Yeah. Coordinate dream watching towards certain objectives.
Well, that's what Joe was hinting at. He was hinting at something that was happening in the UK where they're using medical equipment to give people intravenous DMT, and they can sustain it in their bodies for hours on end. And essentially it's like being able to have a waking dream for hours on end. So they go into the dream and they're finding each other, and they're talking to each other, and they're finding common places, and they're going back to those places. And that's what he was saying. That was when Joe Rogan was talking about this ways back. That particular experiment was, I heard it first proposed by a guy here in Boulder who was taught like some kind of spiritual marijuana thing. I forget what it was, but it was somehow using marijuana for therapy, I think, and they had some kind of something spiritual going on with it. I never looked into it very deeply, but they were talking about that same experiment, like do IV DMT and sustain it for a long time and let people, instead of it being a flash when people experience DMT, like the same kind of slow trickle. And you could easily prop the door open to your subconscious and have all kinds of crazy stuff happen when you mess around with that stuff. You ever see the movie Flatliners? It's I wouldn't expect you to. It's a small movie. There was a remake of it a couple years ago, but the original was with Kiefer Sutherland, and it was all about medical students who stopped their hearts and died for fun, and then their friends would bring them back right before they really, really died. So they were basically seeing the other side and dying a little bit, and then and the problem was that they were bringing things back with them. Like they would come back to our world and they would bring back dead people more or less, and they had no idea how to handle it. Like it was even they had no idea how to psychopomp something, like how to pray for a soul to get it to be the right place. If they knew the psychopomping, if they had good prayer, the Flatliners might have been a different story. They might have been able to navigate that other heavenly space better. But instead, early exposure to it kind of jacked up their lives here and caused them to realize the value of simple experience. Denouement. The resolution of all that. Yeah. We're playing a weird strategy on this. We just lost this one. Okay, headed falling back.
This is where we
Sure,
make
I'll
our
fall
final
back.
stand.
You know what? Maybe I won't. Maybe I'm going to harass these guys for 40 more seconds. Too far to go anyway. Okay, so if you were in some kind of extended DMT study where they were like propping the door to dreams for you, I wonder how you handle that. Because Rick Doblin of MAPS, Multidisciplinary Association of Psychedelic Studies, he did the first experiment with DMT where he gave it to people intravenously. And based on the shocking spiritual experiences that people had, he stopped doing it because he realized he didn't have the culture or the tradition necessary to help people when they came back from that experience to make it useful and integrated. And they were talking to aliens, and they were in, they were in ships, and they were all over the place. It was like they were just like kind of cracking into some interdimensional, psychedelic internet using DMT, and they were transporting themselves somewhere, and it wasn't guided. There wasn't like somebody on the other side waiting for you to come through the door and then greeting you and being with you and helping you in this process. Like that's what you would want, right? You would want to guide someone. The reason to go to another world would be because there was something useful there. And if you had like a guide in that other world that was useful, that's what you'd want. Friendlies on the other side. You wouldn't just want to be cracking doors in the universe and walking through.
I mean, I think that's a healthy way of looking at it for sure. I think some people do a lot.
Well, and there's some danger in that, right? You're taking some risks with that, like risks of like getting exposed to beings you don't know and who don't know you, and can follow you back from some other place, or maybe getting trapped somewhere. Like the whole genie story. You get trapped in some other little bottle universe somewhere, and you're not able to fully rejoin your body when you're done with your adventure or whatever.
Right, like what's happening?
Yeah, totally.
Any surprises?
I mean, if I was going to answer that question, I would say that schizophrenics might have the hardware for altered states of consciousness, but they don't have the software for altered states of consciousness. Because if you had both, the hardware and the software, you'd probably just be a helpful member of your community, in the sense that you would be productively integrating altered states of consciousness back into your everyday kind of thing. Cultures that have a more traditional approach, like a shamanic kind of, medicine person, useful, productive use of dreams, they have little to sometimes low or no instances of some of the kinds of mental illnesses that we have, like schizophrenia.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I think, yeah, because have you ever talked to a schizophrenic, or ever been around schizophrenics?
Not for an extended period.
No. We had when I was a telephone prayer minister for Silent Unity, somebody got the bright idea to put these things called the Daily Word, which was like the publication that the Unity Church movement made. It was like a Daily Word is like a little affirmation every day. It's like an affirmation you can say, and they write them in a way that it works for people of any faith. So it's not just for Christians or Muslims or Hindus. Any of those faiths would find these little affirmations to be positive and useful. And anyway, so the Daily Word has 30 or 60 or 90 of these in them, depending on which version of it you get. And they have authors, and they write them, and they reuse old ones sometimes, and they mix them up and keep them seasonal. It's a little and everybody, at least in the Unity Church movement, all affirms the same one each day. So that's kind of like the way that the Mormons all read a bit of their Joseph Smith's like back catalog. Like they read the same bit every day or whatever. So somebody got the idea to put the Daily Word in mental institutions. Like on their tables, they sent them free copies, and where they put out the free magazines, they had this little Daily Word. Well, it also had our telephone number in the back, the prayer ministry. So we got like loads of calls from mental institutions. And what was crazy is that I'd be praying with people over the phone, and the ones that were schizophrenic, you could tell their grasp was okay, we're an OT. I'll come back to schizophrenics on the phone in a sec here. Okay, so I'm gonna hold down the main. You want to hit him from the side? Sure. All right, we're on the main. Let me see if I can do any good while I'm on this main here. What do we got? All right, I'm just gonna wait for people to come on my level here.
We got a Yoda over here.
Yup. He's trying to cut me off. Did not do it. Got nuked. Nuked by my lightsaber gun blaster. Gun blaster's what I meant. It's like lightsaber's short version. Blaster. Alright, I am not getting off this thing. Okay, so schizophrenics. So anyway, the ones that were schizophrenic, you could tell, but they were, I mean, at least the ones that were probably very schizophrenic, you could tell. They would, they were very creative. Like, they would sort of like the way that they were thinking and what they were asking for in prayer and stuff was like, you could see some glimmer of beauty in what they were doing, but it was all put together wrong.
Right.
Like, it never made any sense. Like, I would like a 7-star miracle wedding and 7-star miracle babies and a 7 plates of, this and that. It's like you're like listening to someone's brain poetry. Also, the record is skipping. But the poetry part but the little chunk you get, you're like, that's why it's so fascinating. It's like clearly it's like a brain fart of some kind. It's like, wow, it's like tuned into something else, and then of course there's just simple possession, just people having more than one occupant in their vehicle. That's annoying. That's common. I think it's really common in our culture for people's bodies to just have more than one thing in there, aside from the soul that got born in there. And that's a problem. That's trouble. So
How do you see that?
in my shamanic practice, I spent so much time like with listening to my drum track and like doing journeys that I got to the point where I could do that state of consciousness just when I was walking around a little bit. Not the same way, not like a full journey, but I could kind of glance into that brain state in a little bit. And so, when I'm out or when I'm hanging out with people in the world and I'm shopping or doing or whatever, sometimes I'll be talking to someone and I'll be like, wait, what? And I'll just like flip the channel a little bit and be like, oh. And then that's just it. Oh, what it does is it informs me for how to pray for them better. I just pray for. I'm just like, there's more than just a person here. We gotta pray for more. We gotta pray for the person plus that other soul or whatever's happening. It's just like it's like just having a little more data, which means your prayers can be a little more rich, directed, exactly. But it's worthless to have the sight without the prayer, because good luck. You're just gonna stare into the multiverse. You know what shit there's out there? Like, so I use it.
Get scared.
Yeah, get scared. Totally. Like, but this is just an extension of praying for people. I would just call that praying for people, sending good vibrations to all the people on the radar and everybody you run into and all that kind of stuff. Did we just win this shit? Wow, nice, super nice. How we doing on the time assist? It's about time to wrap this sucker up, buddy.
It is.
Dude, this was so much fun. Oh,
Good win. Yeah,
Good
good
win.
conversation. This
good
cool.
conversation. This was
Yeah.
super fun. I left a lot on the table here, but I'm going to keep it for next time. We got some good stuff here. Dude, have a fantastic rest of your evening. And have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you on Monday.
See you Monday. And,
Sounds awesome, Possum.
Enjoy
Woohoo!
those mountains for me. Peace.
Oh my god, absolutely will. Take it easy.